So today I am making chicken noodle soup in the crock pot, and this is a recipe that I just kind of put together 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, and just have been making over the years. I used to do it in a stock pot, and now I've gone to the crock pot because it doesn't take as long that way. But so this was a requested video by several of you guys, so I thought I'd make it. I've been craving chicken noodle soup anyways. So the ingredients I'm going to use is chicken. I'm going to be using chicken breast, boneless chicken breast. You can really use any cut of chicken that you want. Just make sure that if it's on the bone that you have enough. And obviously cut it off the bone when you're putting it in the soup. But I'm also going to be using chicken stock. Any brand is fine. This is Kitchen Basics. My husband just picked this up a while ago when I asked him to get me beef broth. Then a few of these chicken flavored bouillon cubes. Some soup. Some celery. Some carrots. And noodles. And I'm also going to be putting in various spices and stuff, but yeah, this is like the basics. So I am going to go boil the chicken and then we'll get started. All right, so I have one large chicken breast that I put into a pot, and we're going to boil this and let it cook, and then we will cut it into pieces. So while I'm waiting for the chicken to cook, I'm going to cut up the vegetables. So the carrots, the celery, and the onions. So the carrots, I cut up the entire bag. Celery, I cut up 5 stalks. And the onion, I cut up a little bit over half of a large sweet onion. So now I'm going to be cutting up the chicken. And it's okay if it's undercooked a little bit in the middle, because you are throwing it in the crock pot for 4 hours. So it's still gonna get cooked down. All right, so you don't want to throw everything in at once, because you want to make sure that in the end you have enough room for your noodles. So I'm just going to play it by eye and just add things in increments like I always do. I poured in a little bit of the water that I cooked the chicken in, just for a little bit more of added flavor. And now I'm going to add in some of the chicken stock. So now I'm going to add in some of the chicken. This is hard to do one-handed. Hold on. So I added in about 3/4 of that huge chicken breast. And now I'm going to add in the carrots. I added in about half the bag. And now I'm going to add in the celery. I added in a little over half of the 5 stalks, and now I'm gonna add in the onion. I added in the whole container that I chopped up the onion. I'm gonna add more of the chicken stock now. So almost the whole, actually the whole chicken stock was used. So I added in about half of what was left in the container of chicken. I added almost all of the rest of the carrots. There's maybe 20 pieces of carrots left in there. And I added about half of what was left of the celery. But you want to leave, there's this much left. You want to leave enough room to add the noodles, and you don't want to fill it up too much, because you want some broth left when it's all done cooking. So now it's time to add the spices. So I added 4 bouillon cubes. You don't want too much, just enough to add just a little bit of flavor. All right, so I added in some chopped dried onion. I added in some salt. I added in some garlic powder. I added in just a bit of paprika. I added in some black pepper. And I feel like there was something else. And I added in about a pinch and a half of thyme. So now I'm going to mix it all together, and I do season as I go along, as it's cooking. I smell it and I'm like, does it need any more flavors? And you do want to stir periodically because of those bouillon cubes. You want them to melt and you want them to evenly disperse around the soup. So I just kind of stir every, half hour. And I also check pretty much every half hour to make sure that it smells like it's supposed to. And I taste the broth every now and then just to make sure it's where it's supposed to be. So now I covered it, and it's going to be cooking for 4 hours on high. At the 3.5 hour mark, you're going to want to add your noodles. You don't want to add your noodles in the beginning, or they're going to be really soggy and you're going to have a mess in there. You want your noodles to be pretty much whole when it's done. So in 3.5 hours, I'm going to add the noodles, going to let it cook for another half hour, and then it will be done. So now it's time to add the noodles. You don't want them all the way to the top though, because they expand. So maybe just a little bit more, and then that should be good. And then we'll cook them for another half hour, or until they're fully cooked. And here it is, all finished. I tasted the noodles and they're cooked perfectly. And yeah. And I also tried the broth. I did add a little bit more. Oop, I bumped you. I added a little bit more of all the spices, and I added 1 extra bouillon cube, and it tastes pretty perfect. So let's take a bite. Let's get everything in there. Piece of chicken. It's really hot. It just came out of the crock pot. Delicious. Chicken is nice and tender, and the vegetables are all cooked down perfectly. So I love this. This is my first crock pot recipe I ever made. This is my first meal I ever made. When I first started kind of cooking and stuff, the first thing I ever made big was a big stock pot of chicken noodle soup. And of course, I had help from one of my friends at the time who was a chef. He just kind of like watched over my shoulder and watched what I put in. And if there was something that shouldn't go in, he was like, no, or you need more of that or whatever. And then over the years, I've kind of perfected it to where it's to my liking. So, you can use different size noodles if you want. You can use smaller noodles. You can use flat noodles. You can use those long skinny noodles. Any kind of noodles you want in your chicken noodle soup. But I use the wide egg noodles and they come out pretty perfectly. So yeah, that is my recipe. Let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see more Crockpot recipes. This is basically the last soup recipe that I have. But what I've been doing is looking up just easy recipes on Google to try and to make. Someone had suggested chicken and dumplings, which I really want to try because I love chicken and dumplings. So maybe that'll be my next one. But just let me know in the comments down below what you want to see. The other thing I make in my smaller crock pot is buffalo chicken dip, which I don't know if I showed the actual recipe in the video of my husband's 40th birthday. But if you would like to see a video of my buffalo chicken dip, just let me know as well in the comments down below. But that is everything for today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Have an awesome day. Bye.